Hello everybody, it's me, Matty C. Allen. It is Midnights with Matty Allen. Not quite, starting a little early tonight because I wanted to give more of y'all a chance to see the stream, if you're on the East Coast, because I know it's a little late. But yes, tonight we head back to Disneyland for, as Soren7550 just says in the channel, for our virtual vacation, because this is the best we can do right now. It's closed. So yeah, I figured let's just keep this baby rolling, keep giving you a tour. I did make a little bit of a change tonight. I went to an amazing website that I've gone to for years and years, probably going over 20 years now. If you've never been, go to Yesterland, yesterland.com. They have all the extinct Disney attractions and old pictures and stuff like that. So all credit, and what I did is I grabbed some images of some of the stuff we're going to talk about that is no longer there. So all credit to Yesterland for that, and I think there are watermarks in the images anyway, but I'll make sure to call it out. So yeah, when we pass by a thing I'm talking about, if it's a thing that's no longer there or whatever, I'll try to grab an image and put it up on the screen for you guys to see. Let's see, Greygrock, you had a question. This is the one with Kinect controls. No, that's just the only game name in the Twitch database that recognizes this. But this is the one I'm playing the version of Disneyland Adventures that is on Game Pass on PC, and I am playing just with a regular old controller. So yeah, and it's game wise, you guys, there's not a ton of game there. It's like a collectathon or whatever. But it is, the reason we did all this, it is still the best virtual representation of Disneyland ever in any interactive medium. So there you go. Thoughts? Okay, so Soren says, speaking of Yesterland, thoughts on the Defunctland YouTube series. I watch a lot of Defunctland stuff as well, and I think it's great. I love that they do the deep dives and research and all that stuff. So yeah, I big fan there. For someone who's a big Disney Parks fan and stuff, I sort of disengaged from the online Disney Park fandom. I used to be big into it, again, 15, 20 years ago. It's just, I don't know. You know how fandoms can be. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where I keep an eye on what's going on those things, but I'm not posting in the boards or anything like that. So, but yeah, no, the Defunctland is a great series, especially because they cover more than Disney too. I want to say I watched a video fairly recently that was like them going through the old Back to the Future attraction at Universal. Maybe that was a different channel. So, but yeah, so thank you guys for showing up, everyone who's already showed up. And I don't know why I'm stalling. We don't need to keep stalling. So, without further ado, I take you to the wonderful world of Disneyland Adventures. So we are here in the Main Street hub, and there we go. I'm just going to cue something out for you guys. So last time we did this, we kind of went down Main Street. I talked a little bit about, what my typical day would look like when I worked at the park. But there's a few things I did want to show you guys that we discussed last time that I just didn't have an image of. So, first thing up, we talked about the Magic Shop, and it's most people is one of their favorite shops. But then I said, my favorite shop is the Music Shop, which is right here. But the reason this guy is in front of the Music Shop is because this area used to look a little bit like this. So hopefully you guys can see that in the lower left of the screen there. But that is the actual tobacco shop location. So there used to be a tobacco shop on Main Street, and then there weren't any great pictures of it. But we talked a little bit about the corset store on Main Street, which was down here. And yeah, I think it's called the Wizard of Bras. So when I was reading up on it, check it out at Yesterland. I think they even talked about there's a robotic guy that would demo stuff. So it did not last very long, but yeah. So what I thought I'd do is just kind of, we're gonna really quickly go through the lands we've already been through, and we went through, basically we did Main Street and Tomorrowland and then Toontown, and anywhere where I kind of wanted to show you guys something that we discussed last time, I will try to pull up the image for you. Sound good? All right. So yeah, one of the things I mentioned is when I worked here, this was right when they'd done the big Tomorrowland. They called it like Forever Tomorrowland. It was supposed to be this timeless interpretation, and instead of stark white everything that would eventually start to look shabby and gray, they painted it this like weird bronze-ish color. And I'm going to try to find this for you guys right now. So, sorry, I didn't... there we go. So now this is what this is what the entrance looked like. Oh, actually, that's not the entrance. Sorry. Trying to do too many things at once here. There it is. Okay. So this it automatically changes. Son of a gun. All right. There we go. This is what the entrance look like when I worked there. You can see in the lower left, and you see all these bronze, a lot of bronze, because apparently that was the timeless metal, because it already looked rusted. I don't know. The other thing we also mentioned, so I will try to find this as well for you. Oopsie. We mentioned, there's that. Okay. We mentioned that, yeah, at one point at that time, before Astro Blasters was there, this is where the entrance to Rocket Rods was. But even before that, let's see for you. I have to go through it. It looked... Where is it? I might not have grabbed... Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. So, yeah, before that, it looked like this. So this was Circle Vision. And for many, 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 many years there, they had America the Beautiful, which is a film that would play that basically you were surrounded by movie screens and you kind of just stood in the middle of the room. It sucked as a kid because you just had to stand there, and your parents would inevitably be like, hey, there was like these poles you were supposed to lean on so you could look around, but kids would be climbing all over them and your parents would get pissed off, and you guys know how that goes. But that looked a little bit, when you were in there, they kind of brought it back a little when they had rocket rods in the queue of the rocket rods. And so that looked like this right here, which you guys can see. Yeah, so it's kind of like they're supposed to be one... It's one movie. Think of like how when the Google Maps car drives around the town and captures a 360 view of everything. That's basically what the Circle Vision camera was, and they would just go film movies, and then it was like it's not 3D, but it's like you're supposed to be in the middle of the movie. So, yeah, I'm sure there probably will be someone who's like, play the damn game, Matt. So I apologize for that, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of some of the backstory there. And of course, the rocket rods themselves ended up looking, well, so we talked about, there we go. So this is how the rocket rods looked. And I don't blame you if you don't know what they look like, because they didn't run that many years. And even when they were running, they were never running. They were always broken. They were notorious for being broken. And part of that reason was this track here. This was not designed for a high-speed ride. This was the People Mover track. The People Mover moved, I want to say, a steady 2.5 miles per hour. Even though, a little bit of trivia for you guys, the People Mover, for a time, it might still hold a record, was the deadliest attraction at Disneyland. More people have died in accidents on the People Mover than any other attraction. Oh, look at that. We got like a little thing to grab there. So yeah, because this is not Kinect controls, like on Kinect you would have had to like raise your arm to select this stuff. You would think it'd be easier to like select the tools. It's actually harder. So yeah, people died on the People Mover, and here's why. The way that the track is built, there's actually so it's these cars that are kind of, it's more, you can't really see it, but all the machinery is underneath the track area. So it's kind of like a slot car, and then there's machinery underneath that's turning it, that is pushing the cars along. So what would happen is a lot of kids would, like, for grad nights, they would like jump from People Mover car to People Mover car, and they would get caught on the track between. And unfortunately, there was no like sensor safety system to know when someone was on the track, and it didn't have an emergency like stop mechanism, and so literally people would get trapped and then run over by these slow-moving People Mover cars, and crushed to death. It happened more than once. It happened when someone tried to sneak in the park, because the tracks run right around the outside of the park, and so like literally they were trying to hop the fence to sneak in, got stuck on the track and got killed. So this happened like multiple times. And that's not the reason they closed People Mover down. It's just it was that plus some maintenance stuff or whatever. So, yeah. Well, no, this 16-bit relic saying this must have been before we were so litigious. No, in fact, Disneyland or Disney has a history of defending themselves in court very successfully up until the last couple decades. And kind of their defense, Griegrok, is exactly what you're saying. They would prove that it was not their, it wasn't their, not paying attention, or they weren't liable. It was always the people were doing things they weren't supposed to be doing, and they would win a lot. I think a lot of that changed. I don't know if you guys remember. A lot of you were probably really young when this happened, but when the sailing ship Columbia tore that cleat off the dock and it swung. So I don't know if you guys ever have like moored a boat to a dock, but you have the cleat that's there on the dock and you tie the rope around it. Well, the Columbia is a huge ship. It's a big pirate ship. It tore, it was still moving, and it tore the cleat off the dock and kind of swung it around. Think of like a deadly sickle on the end of a rope, and basically tore someone's face off. So that time Disney was liable, and then I think it became harder for them to defend themselves in court. But for the most part, anytime someone sued them, they would take it to court because it's very expensive to take people to court, you know. So yeah, it's they would defend themselves and say, no, we were doing everything, safety, all good. It's the people's fault, and they would win. And so yeah, a lot of the death suits, they weren't like held responsible. Either that, or I think sometimes a lot of the time before stuff goes to court, it just gets settled out of court. You know, it's not going to go there. So other stuff we talked about last time here, we talked about the Mary Blair murals. So I will try to find those for you guys because they're so beautiful and just so unique, and so different. So here is a shot of one. So right there, you see next to there's those tracks, and the People Mover cars, and you can kind of see like they kind of go into the track there, and so those panels, my understanding was people's feet would like get caught right there in the track. But see those tile murals right there, that is the Mary Blair murals. I'm gonna try to find a better shot for you guys, because they're so unique, but they so did not fit Tomorrowland's theme. So here we go. Here's some shots of them. Okay, so here's the first shot, and so you can see they're these like I don't know that I can zoom in, but again, if you just go to yesterland.com, you should be able to see these. Maybe I can zoom. It's gonna probably put it out of whack. Hold on. Okay. So these are tile murals that were created by the artist Mary Blair. If they look familiar to you, it's because she's the woman who designed the facade and much of the inside of Small World. But they're these beautiful murals that just kind of are very out of place in Tomorrowland. You know, so they're right there. That's above one of the shops in Tomorrowland, and you know, they look very Small World, which is great. They're very beautiful, but not really futuristic, you know. And so now what you see there is this. You see, well, this one has Space Mountain on it and spaceships. When I worked there, they had put this mural up for Forever Tomorrowland, which was 98 Tomorrowland. I don't know. I think they actually did take the tiles down. It would be a real shame. I mean, Mary Blair's held in pretty high regard. She was one of Walt Disney's favorite artists. I seriously doubt they would just cover up the tiles. They probably did move them somewhere. I want to say that she has another mural in the Continental Hotel in Disney World. So that's what the facade looked like for a little while there, and then kind of if you go today, this is what it looks like, and then we can kind of see here in the game, because though they had to strip away all the Star Tours theming, it just looks a lot more empty without these star speeders flying by or anything like that. So any Masonic imagery, I don't know, probably not. So, I mean, it's very, very much like Small World-esque imagery. Let's see some other stuff that I wanted to show you guys. And again, I'm trying to fly through this. Oh, yeah. This is what, if you actually go there, what you would expect to see. So, you see that the Star Tours facade is just now a bunch of glowing stars. So... that is not true, Harry Todd. There's a lot of room for nostalgia at Disneyland. Imagineers always try to think of creative ways to kind of hide stuff. Hey, thanks so much for the subscribe. That's awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go through and just make sure. Oh, I remember what I wanted to show you guys. This is cool. Okay. So what was there before Star Tours? A lot of you weren't born yet, and we talked about... if you watched the last stream, we talked a little bit about a ride that was known as Adventures Through Intercourse, but the real name of that ride was Adventures Through Inner Space. And what it basically was a movie where you went inside the eye of a microscope, inside of a water molecule or a snowflake. Don't worry, snowflakes. We're not going to offend anyone. No. But yeah, that was what the facade looked like back then. And you can kind of see actually that cool little, like, that facade is still there. If you look in the picture, like, but it was a completely different ride before Star Tours. And then this is what the ride looks like. On the inside. So it's basically, you would go in there, hey, thank you, 7 Pains, nailed it. Street Fighter EX plus Alpha is good, TL's wrong. But yeah, so you would go in, and that's the Star Tours queue area, but there's a giant microscope there, and they had this really cool illusion where they had these like little mini cars that would run down this glass tube, and the way they did the illusion was it made it look like they were shrinking everyone who would go in the loading area of the car, and then because then you'd see these little tiny cars going through this glass thing. Unfortunately, that illusion got broken because everyone in those glass cars looked the same. And I want to say, yeah, it was always just like a parent-kid combo or something, and it's like, well, wait, that's not who went in that car. So, yeah, it is very retro feeling, though. I love the colors in there, in just that snowflake and all of that stuff. So, there you go. That's what's there. And here we go. Here's our little space mural, which has the generic spaceships, not the Star Tours spaceships. Oh, okay. So here's another thing I wanted to show you guys last time we were here. Didn't get a chance to get to it. Hey, here we go. Let's see. All right, so we shall not mention Captain EO again. But I was telling you guys about Starcade and how amazing it was as a kid, because it's one of just the best arcades ever. But I actually found some pictures of Starcade. So, if you will indulge me, I wanted to show you guys. This was what I would consider like my big arcade growing up. Well, actually, the arcade I loved and went to a lot as a kid was it's called Castle Park in Riverside, California. If I can find the damn pictures. There it is. All right. Yeah, time traveling in this game would actually be really cool. I would love that. but not so much. All right, so this is the inside of Starcade. What it looked like. It did actually have that very gross looking floor, but it was a thing of beauty to behold. I mean, look at all those machines, anything you want. And then this is the downstairs area, which kind of goes next to the exit of Space Mountain. As I talk into my Powerade, sorry. And you can just see that they got all the machines there. But I love, check out this very retro 70s vibe on the wall. Like, doesn't that just look like a Trapper Keeper? But the other cool thing about Starcade, I mean, you guys are probably just drooling over these machines. Yep. Every machine there, just one big drool thing. Look at that. Look at that time crisis. So the escalator, which you can see over here, I was saying eventually they closed. There was an upper story that I used to go to all the time, but eventually they just brought it. Like all arcades, they started to downsize, and they brought all the arcade machines down. And then at the top of the escalator, they would just hang like Star Wars props. And so we had like a giant, like life-size X-Wing fighter just hanging where the upstairs of the arcade used to be. So yes, that is Starcade, my memories of it. And oh, god dang it, I loved it so much. Other cool stuff. I think I covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to show you guys from here. Oh, I remember what I was going to show you. So come on over here. A lot of you don't remember this because you're too young, but I was saying that right there, those stairs actually used to be the Tomorrowland station of the Sky Baskets, which were these baskets suspended on cables that ran through the middle of the Matterhorn and connected with Fantasyland. And it was a really cool way to get back and forth between the two areas. I managed to find a few shots of what that looked like. So, again, if you guys will indulge me, here is the station, the carts coming into the station. And then here is actually what one of those Sky Baskets look like. And because they're still kind of, they when I worked there, they kept a couple backstage as just like break areas where you could just like sit on inside one of them like it was a bench. But yeah, this is really old school. As you can see the basket design, this was like early basket design, but this is them coming in over Tomorrowland toward that Tomorrowland station. This is pre-America Sings building even. This is the Fantasyland station when they would go to Fantasyland, and you can tell it just has a completely different theme. It's got that kind of the when Fantasyland kind of went to like a European city theme. This is all existed through the 90s. They closed the Sky Baskets down in the 90s. The rumor was because someone fell off it and died. That's not true. Someone did fall out of a basket. They think he let himself out and jumped. They think he landed in a tree, so no one died. But they were a maintenance nightmare, and they would always break down. And it was just like, it's kind of like when you guys go on a gondola when you go skiing, like a ski lift, how it'll just stop, because typically what happens is it's when people are getting on and off the thing that would cause delays. The other big thing that happened that made them say, it's probably not worth it because it doesn't run that much and all this stuff, is the American with Disabilities Act, ADA. They couldn't figure out a way to make it ADA compliant with the existing buildings and all that stuff. They did, at Walt Disney World, put in basically kind of a modern day equivalent of Sky Baskets that are all ADA compliant and all that stuff. But even then, I think you guys probably heard almost a year ago now in bonus time, that has broken down and people have been stuck hanging over, up in the sky. It's not a great feeling when those get stuck. If you're afraid of heights at all, it's not great. But here is a shot of them going through the middle of Matterhorn Mountain. How do we know it's a Swiss mountain? Excuse me. Because it has holes in it. Not my joke, Walt Disney's joke. Here's the shot from Tomorrowland looking through as the Sky Baskets literally pass through the middle of Matterhorn Mountain. What was so cool about that is you could actually see the Matterhorn ride as it was running. Apparently back in the day, they didn't have the inner facade of Matterhorn. It was very much just like a roller coaster inside a mountain shell. But the one I remember, they kind of had filled in all the caverns with concrete and stuff, and so it was like you would just kind of slowly go through and hear the abominable snowman. And it was awesome. All right, we're gonna get there, but I did want to show you guys that. So thank you again for indulging me with all of this stuff. So I actually don't have any stuff to show you from Toontown that's extinct that we talked about. Toontown is largely, the stuff's still there, it just doesn't work anymore. It's so annoying. Like we talked about, like the Chippendale slide and stuff like that. But again, if you want to check out some of this stuff, go to Yesterland, and you can see all of these pictures, and they have full articles of what each thing was and all that stuff. I've been going to that site for so long. I highly recommend it, and that's where I'm getting all of these pictures. So now we are, though, back into Fantasyland. Yeah, Grigook, I actually love the ride-throughs that are on YouTube. I think it's amazing that they exist. All right, where are we? I'm a little turned around. Here we go. We're at the Storybook Canal Boats, Storybook Land, boom, 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 which actually is very much kind of, other than a few additions they've made. So, for example, I don't know if we can see it here. This little cave, the joke used to be, every tour guide would tell you, that's Never Never Land, folks. And why is it called Never Never Land? Because we never go there. Eventually they did actually put in the palace from Aladdin inside there, even though that's a boat maintenance area. That's where they park the boats at night. So they've made additions to this ride, but it's very much the same as it was around opening. The trees have grown in and stuff like that. But it's just a bunch of mini dioramas, and then you're on this little boat, and you go through the middle of the whale from Pinocchio. But this area did not always look like this. Oddly enough, so it's funny, this things that's here now, which is the Dumbo attraction, which is circus-themed, makes perfect sense. It actually was not always here. And it replaced a really cool thing that used to be in Fantasyland. But before the early 80s, Fantasyland did not have this medieval European town theme. It was actually circus themed. All of the facades of these buildings looked like this Dumbo facade back here, like very much like a circus. Dumbo was built as part of that revamp in the early 80s, but unfortunately what it replaced is, I think, the coolest thing ever. Which is this. So here's what old Fantasyland how it used to be laid out. So next to the Storybook Land canal boats, where we are, you see that giant fucking pirate ship and that giant fucking Skull Rock? Yeah, they had that in Disneyland. Apparently they still have it in certain parks. Actually, I think I have a shot. So that's what Skull Rock used to look like. That was in the middle of Fantasyland and Disneyland. That looks like something straight out of the Goonies. I am so jealous that I never actually got to see that thing. This is a view of that same rock from the bow of, it was Captain Hook's ship. Was right there in the middle of Fantasyland, if you can believe it. So, so jealous. It was cool, right? Here's what the ship looked like. Here we go. So here's what the ship looked like. You can see right there, that's from the whale, from Pinocchio. Here it is. It was in its own little like lagoon at the very back of Fantasyland, which is where the Dumbo lagoon and ride is right now. And then it was, but the funny thing is, it wasn't just like a ship that you played on. It was a restaurant serving tuna fish sandwiches, which sounds disgusting in the middle of Southern California summer. Just imagine 90 plus degree days. Have your nice, tepid tuna fish sandwich on Captain Hook's boat. Gross. The Skull Rock and Captain Hook ships still survive today in Disneyland Paris. So this is a shot of what they look like now in Disneyland Paris. For a time at Disneyland Hotel, the Imagineers had paid a little homage, a little tribute to the ship after it got removed. So basically, during the revamp in the early 80s, they just couldn't think of a way to move the ship to make way for other stuff, and they're like, all right, it's just got to go. And they got rid of it. But they wanted to pay it some respect. So at the Disneyland hotel pool, they called it like the Neverland pool. They kind of rebuilt a mini version of that ship, and actually I think there was a mini version of Skull Rock there as well, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, unfortunately, never got the cool Fantasyland, that part of Fantasyland. Just got Dumbo, which is like the kiddie version of the rocket ride from Tomorrowland. Which, if you joined last time, the Astro Orbiter used to be way cooler because it was on top of the People Mover track, like way up high, so you had to go up an elevator to ride it. It was awesome. Casey Jr.'s Train, one of the first attractions, been there since around opening. Let's see. This is cool. To this day, they still will allow characters to come on and ride this sometimes. So last time I was there, Mary Poppins and Bert got on the carousel with us and rode around a few times. And there was a band that came on with them, a live band that played. So I love the fact that they still do little stuff like this. This was my favorite ride as a kid, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And actually, I don't know if you guys ever rode it. It used to have a morbid ending, and it still kind of ends this way. The ride ends with you dying, basically. Toad gets hit by a train and goes to hell. The end of the ride, you're just weaving through all these little devils in flames. But when I was a kid, they actually had like steam going up, and so that whole area would look like it was full of smoke. Or it might have been fake smoke, not steam, because that might have burned people. But it was insane, and as a little kid, because you kind of just, your senses work differently, it was terrifying. It's like, oh my god, we actually went to hell. But yeah, what a way to close out a dark ride, huh? So some other trivia stuff about this land. Pinocchio's Daring Journey, I believe, was added during the 82 remodel, so it's a fairly new dark ride. This restaurant is no longer, well, it's a restaurant, but it's no longer has a Pinocchio theme. Yeah, now it's the Tangled restaurant. But for a while, it was basically a Pinocchio themed restaurant. This ride, actually, let's see if she does it. So this is Snow White's Scary Adventures, which literally used to scare kids to the point where that's why they had to name it Snow White's Scary Adventures, to make it clear to parents that it was scary, because it would scare too many kids. The other thing, let's see if it happens. If you look at that window right there that we're looking at, the queen from Snow White actually opens it a few times a minute and looks down at you, kind of nodding disapprovingly, and then closes the curtain. It doesn't look like they put that little bit in here, but man, it's a really cool thing that no one really knows about. And if you're there and you point up and show it to someone, you will get instant cool points. The other thing, though, with the Snow White ride, it used to be very scary, but I believe it also used to be very short. A lot of these rides during the early 80s, they got an expansion that made them a lot longer. In fact, Alice in Wonderland got a whole second story expansion that basically doubled the length of that ride. So, and then this is the most popular dark ride. If you're ever in Fantasyland, this Peter Pan's Flight will always have lines because it's the coolest. It's the one where you ride the little mini pirate ship and it hangs from the ceiling. So, there you go. There's not much more I can really tell you about Fantasyland. As you'll notice, it's pretty cramped quarters, so actually I never really worked inside the Fantasyland area. There's no outdoor vending stations or anything there. I would mostly, there's a popcorn stand kind of near the Matterhorn that I would work, and then there's some stuff on the Frontierland Trail, which we're going to go around, that there is a stand that I would work there. But yeah, Fantasyland itself is just very cramped quarters. One of the cool things, if you're a parent, that I can't recommend enough, especially if you have little girls, they have the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which you have to book well in advance, but it's basically like a makeover where they will get your daughter all geared out with the dress and the hairdo, and I think typically kids just come in wearing their dresses, but it's like they give them a little mini makeover, and it's like a fairy godmother does it for them, and then they have like a magic mirror they look in, they sprinkle them with fairy dust, and it's just like this, like a light show that goes around them. It's really cute, and it's something really fun that, maybe your significant other can take them to do while you go relax and hang out, because that's what I like to do. So Grigok says, I went on Peter Pan as a kid and the ride got stuck halfway through, so kind of ruined the magic. Yes, that ruins the magic of a lot of rides. Actually, I'll tell that story when we go through Adventureland, which will not be on this episode. We'll probably have to save that for next time. One thing we did mention last time, Red Rock was asking, so the castle is actually home to, or was home to several feral cats back in the day, but now it's full of the Sleeping Beauty, the diorama walkthrough. But the cats still do live in the park and come out at night to keep the mice away. Not Mickey Mouse, but the bad mice. So there you go. And yes, Todd Harrison, very expensive. That's all I'll say. Oh, this thing. If you guys have never seen this, basically it's a Sword in the Stone where I think it's like hourly. They do a little show where Merlin comes out and picks a lucky kid out of the audience and lets him lift the stone from the sword from the stone. And of course, the strongest dudes in the world always come up and try to do this and can never pull it out, but the young kid can. And the secret is the sword's just bolted in with like a lever, a release lever. Merlin has a little button that he hits when it's time that basically releases the lever and lets the sword come up. And that is how you get the sword out of the stone. It's like think like a garage door opener. Hit a button, the lever releases, you can pull the sword out. So that's the secret. I am so sorry to ruin that for all of you guys. But you could, by all means, try. Try to lift it out if you want. One little thing that a lot of people probably don't notice. I love that they have Timothy on top, Timothy the mouse, conducting. Now look this is broken. He's supposed to be spinning around and conducting all of the flying Dumbos, and yet here in this it's static. But yeah, so Timothy the mouse is just like in the movie, he helps motivate Dumbo to fly. All right, so where we're going to go now is we're going to go around one of my favorite, used to be one of my favorite little out-of-the-way walks. And now it's no longer that because it's the route that Star Wars Galaxies lies on. But it's the way that you get from Fantasyland to Frontierland. So I think what we're going to do tonight, we're going to go ahead and go all the way through Frontierland and probably call it a night, and then we'll save New Orleans Square and Critter Country for a future show. Hero of Time. I mean, yes, there's it's the feather, right? I can't imagine all the crunch time programming it would take to make that mouse rotate. Yeah. Actually, the guys at Frontier, I feel like that studio, they kind of got a good rhythm down. Oh, look, a hidden Mickey. Got to take a shot of that. And it's so funny that they made this game. I mean, they're basically the old Roller Coaster Tycoon teams, and now they make it's the replacement to Roller Coaster Tycoon, that game, something park. Anyway, and then they do the Jurassic Park sim game, and so they know amusement parks and they know simulations, so it's not too surprising they made this. But yeah, this is the most random part of this game. You get this bullhorn to collect stuff by shouting at trees. I don't know. What the hell's that about? All right, we're going to take a quick stop here. I just wanted to tell you guys a story I hinted at last time. So, this right here, we talked last time about how back in the day, let's see if we can see it. There's the tippy top of Matterhorn. You guys all see that? Back in the day, Tinkerbell used to go down on a wire to kick off the fireworks show and fly over the castle and go mysteriously disappear after that. But what actually happened was that performer would keep going down a wire and come all the way here. And what they didn't model, actually, let's see if we can, I'll show you where this is. All right. So we're here, Fantasy. Okay, so Fantasyland. Here's the castle. Here's Big Thunder Mountain. So Tinkerbell would fly from this wire right here over the castle, and then right here, kind of behind Frontierland, which is where we are. I think I told you guys last time when I worked there, Tinkerbell was a man. It was a short gymnast type guy who was dressed as Tinkerbell because it only happens at night. Can't see his face. It's so far away. She's way up there in the sky, so no one knew. But it was a man. Before that, it was played by I think the original Tinkerbell was like a little old lady who was an old circus performer from like way back in the day. And yeah, for years and years, your Tinkerbell has not been what you expected. But right here is where Tinkerbell would land. How does someone running down a steep wire land, you might ask? Well, there's actually a water tower that's right there behind this. This is a big cast member door. You can push big stuff through. And there's a big water tower right here that when it was time for the fireworks shows, a couple cast members would climb it with some padding, like a big mattress-looking pad thing. Like think like those pads that you hit with, when you're doing like mixed martial arts, those kind of thing. As Tinkerbell would come down, the lights were off of her, the spotlight and all this stuff. She would start bracing herself because she would basically just come down screaming and slam full speed into these 2 or more cast members with the big pads there, waiting to cushion her in that water tower, and then they would all climb down the ladder because this is a backstage break area. So yeah, Tinkerbell would basically just come down football style and just boom, bull into some dudes. And it was always really funny because back here is like a break area with some tables and stuff. I would be eating my lunch or my dinner, or if I was working like a late shift, it'd be my lunch. And I would just hear this commotion, and then here comes Tinkerbell. But what this area is, because the restaurant's right here, actually, when you go backstage, there are stairs that go downstairs, and underneath that restaurant is an employee cafeteria that you can get like basically the same stuff they serve. So chicken nuggets, fries, burgers, standard American fare, that kind of thing. And then, yeah, this area, which again, I'll try to pull it up. They purposely draw these maps not to scale. But basically between, Frontierland and Fantasyland, there's an employee break area that kind of runs behind Rancho de Zacolo, the Mexican food restaurant right there, and the shooting gallery. And then Frontierland, it's kind of wedged. Think of it like a little triangle wedged between the rides of Fantasyland and Frontierland. So that is a break area. 16-Bit Relic wants to know, did you always eat at the park, or did you eventually tire of the food and start bringing your own? I mostly ate at the park because they actually subsidized it, so it was really cheap. We weren't paying park prices. It was like for your dinner or whatever, $4, $5. And then I didn't always do the burger stuff because I would have gotten tired of that. But what I was saying last episode is like at the in-between, which is basically behind the inn at the end of Main Street, there's a full cafeteria with a bunch of different choices. And then there's another full cafeteria, little tease here, that is a 50s style diner that is underneath New Orleans Square. Like it basically shares the same kitchen as like Blue Bayou. And so there's a lot of variety wherever you wanted to eat to take your break. Basically a couple different cafeterias with like full, blue plate special type options, or you could always get your nuggets, your burgers, that kind of thing. So I mostly ate there and it was cheaper. So the game is a 1-to-1 recreation. It's very close. This game is missing a few things, and they've slid a few things around, but for the most part, that's why we're doing this. This is basically Disneyland, man. Here's that Mexican food restaurant is one of my favorite eateries in the park. It's one of the best places to eat, and it's so funny because it wasn't when I worked there and when I was growing up. It wasn't there, but before that, it was. In fact, I will try to find a picture for you. It was known as the Casa de Fritos, sponsored by Frito-Lay, and it actually had this little like robot mascot kid called the Frito Kid that would just sit there, and I think he would like sing is what would happen. But yeah, so where Rancho de Zacolo is used to be back in the day. It was sponsored by Frito, and so they would serve things like Frito pie and all that stuff. So not great. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Oh man, I'm just seeing in my pictures so much I missed. I might have to show you guys some of this stuff. I didn't get a picture of it, but one thing I did miss, we were talking about last time, the fact that there was boats in Disneyland. You guys like boats? But yes, there were, and I will show you what they look like. in Fantasyland. So, all right. If you guys see there in the lower left corner, that is an old promotional map still of Fantasyland. You can see in the upper waterway, there's a lot going on, right? So, this is what, and I'll just walk over there really quickly in the game. But on the other side of the Matterhorn, this is right now just kind of this empty boat area, but there was a full-on ride-through boat ride that was kind of on rails, and it was meant for little kids. But it is now, I don't know if it's still a smoking area, but for a long time it just became a smoking area. It was one of the few smoking areas in the park. But yeah, it's like this huge empty section of the park now, and it's just like this huge missed opportunity that just they have not done anything with the space. So it's over here. All of this giant water stuff, it used to be this boat attraction that is just like gone now. There's nothing there. That's all part of Autopia. There's the docks for the boat. The other thing is, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Here's the boats, what they look like. And then I was talking about during the late 80s, they finally gave it some theming, because for years it was just, hey, ride this boat along these empty banks. And that theming was something you guys will all appreciate. So there's the boat attraction. And here's now the area. It's just a smoking area. It became Gummy Glen. It was themed with the gummy bears from the Disney Afternoon. So there you go. I just wanted to show you guys that really quickly. Okay, so where were we? We're talking Tinkerbell, talking break areas, talking restaurants, talking about bug snacks. I'm going to talk about my Monster Energy drink. Gotta have my caffeine, man. Yes, Frito pie, by the way, Greg. If you've never had it, it's delicious. You can make them at home. It's usually ground beef and beans on top of Fritos with some cheese. It's bomb, dude. If you eat meat, highly recommended. Like Taco Bell at one point not Taco Bell, Wiener Schnitzel used to serve them. So good. Taco Bell does like basically the chili Frito burritos. Same deal. Let's see. 16-bit Relic wants to know. I'm sure you covered this in the last stream, but I'll ask anyway. Do you have specific recs for food in the parks? Yeah. So my rec, I kind of already brought it up. Rancho de Zacolo, I think, is one of the best spots to eat as a casual place, because the food's really good. It's a kind of there's a variety of different counters you walk up to and order. So a lot of different variety choices for Mexican food. If you were going to do a formal sit-down meal, especially for a dinner, I definitely recommend Blue Bayou. I always tell people try to book that if you can, because literally, when else are you going to eat a full meal inside a ride? Because that takes place in the Bayou section of Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's really, really cool. Even for lunch, because it has the nighttime setting, it's like really fun just to be like, oh wow, now we're eating almost like it's dinner in the middle of the night, and the food's really good there. I used to recommend Red Rocket's Pizza Port, but apparently that's closed now. I liked it a lot though. The pizza was pretty good, and then they had pasta selections. But yeah, I think those are the few that I can hard recommend. The other thing I always tell people, like, if you want a better meal, California Adventure has some better food options if you have the Park Hopper ticket, or just go to Downtown Disney. There's so many good options in Downtown Disney, and it's still close by and part of the park experience. So yeah, everything in Downtown Disney is cheaper than eating in the park. So Disney World's food, I feel like if you want good food at Disney World, you'd go to Epcot, right? That's where you're supposed to go. All right, so what was I telling you guys? Oh, okay. So yeah, this was the backstage area. I would take my breaks there a lot. This little area of the park is now, this is the entrance to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But for years and years and years, this area of the park is just, they didn't really know what to do with it. So I believe originally it was some picnic areas, and then they basically, like, on the other side of this area is where, I don't know if this is still the case, but this is where the horse stables used to be for all the horses that like work on Main Street and used to work in Frontierland, because they used to have an actual like donkey path that they would take people on. I think I grabbed some pictures of that for you guys. But so they basically turned it into kind of like a petting zoo farm area. And then at one point, it's called Big Thunder Ranch. Here you go. At one point, it became like a kind of a petting zoo where you could see stuff. At Christmas time, they would have reindeer there. At one point in the 90s, it became a Hunchback of Notre Dame like stage show called, I forget what it was called, something. Oh man. And then it became Woody's Roundup. There was like a Woody's stage show that took place here. But yeah, now all of that's gone because it is Galaxy's Edge. But what I wanted to do, so you guys are talking about Earl of Sandwich, huh? Big Earl of Sandwich fans? Yeah. If you want a decent cheeseburger here of time, actually, Tomorrowland Terrace is not bad. It's always one of my favorite spots if I'm going to grab a cheeseburger in the park. Just go eat there. Lots going on. But I wanted to show you guys, let's find some old shots of Big Thunder Ranch. Oh, shoot. Before we do that, I did want to show you one thing. I'll just do this. We won't go back. This is an old shot of Tomorrowland. And those big two concrete buildings right there, to the left of the rocket ship, that used to be the Mission to the Moon and then became Mission to Mars attraction back in the day. And then that big thing, the big oval looking thing with all those kind of things in the middle, that was this. This was the Flying Saucer attraction, which eventually got replaced by the America Sings building, which then became Interventions. But it was this giant platform of, think like when you play air hockey, like at amusement parks, the thing, put a quarter in, turns on. It's that. It's like you're basically sitting on an air hockey puck, and the way you would try to steer, try being the key word, is you would lean in certain directions. And again, if you are interested in all this stuff, go to Yesterland. They have a full write-up. This thing was always broken, very rarely worked. If it rained at all, basically that air table became a giant hurricane. It would just shoot water up on people. So it was broken down so much, eventually they did replace it. But I thought it was really cool and wanted to show you guys that. So, and then the other thing I wanted to show you. Okay, I think we went through all that stuff. Oh, I should show you while we're here. So we were talking about the Sky Baskets. The falafel sandwich. I bet that's the Tomorrowland Terrace. That's a big cafe. That's it kind of borders where Tomorrowland becomes. You start to see Matterhorn. So, but this, okay. So did they take it out? Oh, these sons of guns! It was still there until fairly recently. I think they finally tore down the building. This is where the Fantasyland station was for the Sky Baskets. So you can kind of see they would come here, fly over Fantasyland, and that would always break the magic for me as a kid, because you would see the giant like air conditioning units on top of the buildings, like very industrial. Where these rides are, these are very industrial buildings. And so it was just like, it was cool to be up above the park, but it would totally break the illusion of the park. Because one of the ways the park is designed is that you're not supposed to be able to see any of the other lands from a particular land, because it breaks that illusion. If you're in Fantasyland, you want fantasy. Tomorrowland, you want future. Toontown, you want tunes. So yeah, when you're on the Sky Baskets and you can see it all, it kind of kills that fantasy. But it was so cool to get to go through a mountain again. So there you go. This is where the station was, which was here until very recently. It was so sad, just an empty set of stairs going to nowhere. But I always knew what it was, and I loved it, and I really wish they would bring it back. It's weird that how many rides we've just lost that did not get replaced over the years. Oh, I wanted to show you this one too. Hey, I'm really glad I'm doing this now. So this is the old school entrance to Tomorrowland, there in the corner. And then, remember when I was telling you guys about the rockets that were on top of the People Mover? There you go. So you had to take an elevator to get up to those. It was awesome. And and then you see the Mary Blair murals. So there you go. Okay, so let's see. What was I going to show you next? Oh, I was going to show you some parts of Big Thunder Ranch. So let's do that now. And again, sorry, I don't have a better way of kind of going through all these pictures. Big Thunder Ranch, like I mentioned, was sometimes a petting zoo, and they would just have random animals there, and it's because there was a big farm there, and that's where they take care of the animals. But here we go. Big Thunder Ranch was home of the famous Mickey Moo, the only cow in the world with a hidden Mickey right there on its body. I mean, come on, people. And again, all shots courtesy of Yesterland, so thought I would show you that. Right, I think. All right, and then the other thing I was mentioning to you guys, the reason that ranch was there as well was a lot of what was in the park at the time. This is back in the 50s. They had like full on like a donkey ride, or a guided donkey tour, and that would have been where Big Thunder Mountain is now. Like a lot of that was over here, to your left. So what these are, well, now it's actually Big Thunder Mountain, the railroad, the roller coaster. We're going to talk a little bit about, though, what the other stuff here was. But yeah, this is now where Galaxy's Edge is, and it's a lot bigger and takes up a lot of the old backstage area that was there. But what we see here... Oh, you're getting lag on the stream? Oh, yeah, I see that. I see that as well. Let me do this then, folks. Let me just take 5. I might cut off the stream to reset things. That has worked before in the past, but I'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes, so forgive me for that. I'm just going to go check on that. It's a good time to take a break anyway, because we're transitioning into kind of Frontierland. So I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. 5 minutes max, all right? Thanks. All right, I think we're good. I think we're back. Yeah, if that happens again, please guys just let me know, and I will. Usually just requires a quick little toggle on my side gets things reset. So sorry about that. But yeah, let's head back in. I wanted to show you. I found the picture I was looking for. So let's see if we can get it pulled up here for you. Oopsie. Here it is. Is this better, guys? Am I stuttering to you now, or is things looking all right? Let me know. I love when the NPCs just get stuck on the camera in this game, which happens all the time. They like walk straight at the camera. It's awesome. All right. So I was talking earlier about Casa de Fritos, and yeah, this is it. This is what used to be there back in the day. So sorry, it's a low-res picture. Doesn't look too dissimilar from the current Rancho de Zacolo. But you can see the little mine train town there in the background. That is still there. It's part of Big Thunder Mountain. But what was there before, it was actually the mine train through Nature's Wonderland. Was a ride that would have been here on the left side where Big Thunder Mountain is. And then on the right side, the reason you have all of this like beautiful lake and stuff like this is not the River of America. This is its own bespoke water area. And the reason you have things like this tunnel, this was actually part of a ride. It's abandoned, and I loved it. And I think a lot of it's gone now because of Galaxy's Edge, but it was so cool to me because it was kind of like having like a little ghost town there in the middle of Disneyland, where you would see basically part of this old abandoned part of the park. So that tunnel right there and this one were part of this attraction called the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland. And the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland, I don't want to say it used the same track as Big Thunder Mountain, but it kind of was in the same area. And it was basically, okay, I found it. Here we go. It was basically, so here's that abandoned tunnel we were talking about. Soren says, hard for you to tell. His cat's showering him with, he wants more treats, love. I gotcha. So that is what that abandoned kind of tunnel looked like there. We're here, I'll turn so we can see it in the game. So there we go. That's what they're approximating right there. But let's see. This was the train. And so that little town you whip by very quickly is at the very end of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's still there, but back in the day, this was basically like a very slow-moving ride-through attraction, kind of like, think of like the Jungle Cruise with animatronic animals, but you were in a train instead of the boat. But it would take you through places like Rainbow Caverns, which were basically like a blacklight cave with different color water illuminated everywhere. It was very hokey, very fun though. And there it is right there, going near Cascade Peak, which, the extinct Cascade Peak, love it, miss it, but giant waterfall that was there kind of next to the Rivers of America. And yeah, there would be animatronic animals, they would tell bad jokes, puns, very 60s. And if you are lucky enough to have access to, there was a big Disneyland, they call it like the Music of Disneyland. It's a big box set. And it actually contained a lot of ride soundtracks, and it contained the soundtrack to this ride. So every once in a while, I'll just put it on and I'll pretend I'm riding this ride, because it was long gone by the time I was born, because Big Thunder Mountain was built in like the late 70s. But yeah, so the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland would take you by these like little geysers shooting water up, and so they would have like the cactus that look like people. And now this is what you recognize today as Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, big roller coaster, all of that stuff. But yeah, this was the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland. All right. But yeah, to me, I was always fascinated as a kid, because you basically had these remnants of this old attraction that was just no longer there. But they didn't really bother to get rid of it. They didn't cover it up or anything, because it kind of naturally fit the theme. Like, oh sure, yeah, you got this big attraction that is supposed to be. Here's a question: do you guys know that Big Thunder Mountain sort of has a story? Sort of. A lot of these mountains do, and they're not so explicit. But yeah, basically, they've changed it over the years, as if they've added new effects and stuff. But kind of the story is these people were like Moria style, delving too deep in the mountain and kind of cause they're causing like an avalanche and stuff. So it's like a mine train gone wild after this accident happened at the mountain. So that's sort of the story of Big Thunder Mountain there. But yeah, and then you get cool stuff like this off to the side. But here we are in Frontierland. By the way, the pretzel cart I used to work at would be kind of right over past this bridge off on the left, and it was one of the most peaceful places in the park. You just have relaxing. There was lots of shade. Very few people use this trail, but yeah, they did not have. Ooh, look! I got a little something to get there. They have the carts here, but back in the day, they were further down the trail. I could tell you all about the different outdoor vending teams, but even I know that would bore you. What used to be here, funnily enough, was a very controversial thing back in the day. So, at one point in Disneyland's history, there was a partnership with McDonald's. Oh, here we go. Got to mod one of your messages. So 16-Bit Relic says, someone just asked me the other day if Big Thunder Mountain was the racist ride. Me, I don't know. No, the racist ride, it would be Splash Mountain. That is the one that is based on Song of the South, the movie that Disneyland is afraid to show you, and for understandably so. But yeah, at one point Disneyland had a partnership in the park with McDonald's, which was really immersion breaking, as you say, Seven Pains. But yeah, what we got out of it, at least we got this out of it. The Westward Ho wagon was right here in the park, and they would sell fries. It was like basically so over in California Adventure, I think there was like a full McDonald's that was near Paradise Pier, and you could get Happy Meals, all your stuff there. But in Disneyland, they just had a couple spots that sold the fries, including this Westward Ho wagon, which I was always okay with because those fries were delicious. And so I said, I don't care. It's tucked over here in this corner anyway. You're not doing anything with this sidewalk. Give me freaking fries is what I'm saying. But yeah, so that was the Westward Ho wagon, which was a very, very brief stint there, late 90s, early 2000s. So here we are at the in Frontierland, which I have a soft spot in my heart for Frontierland. It's one of those lands that has changed a lot over the years, not so much since I've been alive. But back in the day, like I showed you guys the picture, they used to do, before all this was here, like horseback donkey rides. There was a wagon ride attraction. Apparently at one point there was like a Native American dance circle that I want to say was right on the border of Frontierland and New Orleans Square, because back in the day, kind of Frontierland was it. Like there wasn't much beyond that. There was just, I think, some picnic areas and stuff. So yeah, but they didn't really build and flesh out New Orleans Square until like the 60s, when they went to build Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion and stuff like that. We're not going to go to New Orleans Square tonight. We're going to save that for Tuesday. So for now, we'll just stick with Frontierland. So a couple cool things about Frontierland. One thing we will do, though, we might as well wrap it up. Wrap it as part of Frontierland. Oh, did I already get that fish? I did. We'll talk about Tom Sawyer Island as well. How's that? So if it makes you feel better. But Frontierland, back in the day, didn't even have concrete ground. It was like dirt ground. Here is this Rancho de Zocalo. You were asking for food recommendations. This would be my recommendation, and it is Rancho de Zocalo because it's the ranch from Zorro. So that is why it is called that. It's a nod to the fact that Disney did distribute the Zorro TV show back in the day. Before that was there, but they've had the shooting gallery forever. It's still one of my favorite things to do at the park. This is another little tobacco Indian, and the reason that's here is that this, I think, was another tobacco store, just like the one on Main Street. So yeah, if you want to talk like maybe questionable associations, the fact that I think these are still in the parks. You have, Native Americans became the symbol of tobacco for a long time. In fact, isn't it still, if you buy... Isn't there a brand of cigarettes that like straight up has the Native American on the front of it? Because it's like, yeah, they introduced white people to tobacco, but I don't know. To me, it always, every time I see one of these, I'm just like, that feels like an artifact of a time gone by. So Marlboros, no, it wasn't Marlboro. I think it's American Spirit. That's what it is. American Spirits, I think, either still do or used to have a Native American on the front of the box. So, But let's see. Stuff about Frontierland. This is one of my favorite shops in the park is the Frontierland, the Pioneer Mercantile. That's where you can go get your Davy Crockett coonskin caps and used to be able to get, I think you might still be able to get them like the toy. They had these like, back in the day they had these like pop guns that were like a cork with air that would shoot out a little cork on a string. So you had to like Davy Crockett rifle. And then Pirates of the Caribbean still has that. They have the flintlock pistols that kind of just have the little thing you pull back and it just, the hammer hits and makes a noise. But yeah, there's a bathroom. If you go through here right on the other side, there's those little bathrooms that are hidden. They're kind of between Frontierland and Adventureland. It's kind of out of the way. A lot of people don't know about them, so it is a good bathroom stop. You're right, 16-bit relic. Over here, you have the Golden Horseshoe Review, one of the longest running shows in the history of Disneyland, or even, I think it's in the history of live entertainment. Like, it ran longer than many live shows did. It's rare that you'll still see the Mark Twain running. They don't run it as often as they used to, but it does make for a nice little, if you just want to take a nice leisurely cruise around the rivers of America, Mark Twain is the place to do it. I believe this is the site of that tragic accident I was describing to you earlier. I believe they were mooring the Columbia on this dock. If it's not this one, it's where the ship is now, which is kind of around the river there. Right in front of Splash Mountain, you can see there's the sailing ship Columbia, the big pirate ship. That's the other place it would have been, but I believe the accident did occur right here on the on this Mark Twain the docks. Obviously, the reason it's called Mark Twain is because we have Tom Sawyer Island here. Walt Disney, huge fan of Mark Twain, the writer Mark Twain. And in my mind, at least, because when I was a kid, I don't know if this is still the case with younger kids, but Mark Twain was linked to Disney because Disney had the rights to Tom Sawyer and Mark Twain movies, and because of Tom Sawyer Island. One thing I wanted to point out to you guys. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, Popcorn 3 is what it was known as. This is the popcorn stand that I worked at maybe more than anywhere else in the park other than Churro 6, the busiest stand in the whole park, which is in front of the Haunted Mansion. But this would be cool to work at because A, I got to wear the Frontierland costume, which was excellent, and long sleeves, so it didn't burn my forearms like short sleeve stuff did. But B, every night I got kind of a front row seat to the fireworks display. It would happen right over Thunder Mountain there. That's where you'd see fireworks. And then immediately followed by that is Fantasmic would be taking place behind me. Very stressful to work when those shows are going on, but very cool to be so close as it was happening. There's got to be a speed run of this game. There's no such thing as a speed run of this game. This game takes forever because so like this stuff like this, what the gameplay of this game is hey, use your squirt gun to shoot these things. And you basically have to find all the things to shoot. Or, hey, get the fish with your fishing pole. It's a find 'em game. And then the rides aren't actually rides. They're just like their version. Oh, one thing I'd like to introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to the lamest gift a husband has ever given to his wife. This is a petrified tree. This tells you rich people have too much money. It's a petrified tree that Walt Disney gave to his wife, Lily, for her birthday. Or maybe for a wedding anniversary. I mean, who gives a tree? Here's this petrified tree. Enjoy. And then she's like, yeah, I enjoyed it so much. Why don't you put it in that fucking park you spend all your time at? So yeah. But it's still there. It's actually there in the park. Petrified tree was a gift from Walter's wife. One of my other reasons I used to love working here, and I swear I'm not going to go off 20 minutes talking about selling popcorn, was the music that you might be able to hear a little bit of that runs on a loop in front of the Golden Horseshoe is like all the cowboy Davy Crockett stuff and the stuff from Pecos Bill, that music, it all runs here. And so it's like, I love Westerns, and so I felt like I was living in a Western. 16-bit Relic wants to know, stressful because big business or just so many loud noises? So the reason it's stressful to work when there's Phantasmic or a fireworks show going on or a parade is technically you have to ask people not to stand in front of or crowd in front of like wherever you're working, and inevitably they do. They just want to park and look up in the sky and see a thing, and so you're constantly like having to be the asshole that's like, excuse me, sir, ma'am, can you keep moving? And then they don't, and then you have to go grab another cast member to get them out of the way. So it sucks because of that. It sucks because, yeah, typically people are trying to buy their stuff as quickly as possible before the show. You kind of get side-eyed from the people that are trying to watch the show as you're still working with your little light on and doing transactions. And then, yeah, it's just like really loud. You can't hear anything. So it's just... And then I don't know if you guys have been, but like before the shows, the crowd control is just a nightmare. There's like 100 Disneyland employees waving batons like, keep walking, and it's a mess. So yeah, it gets a little stressful, but it's whatever. I've got to work at Disneyland. What do I care? Let's see other Frontierland stuff. Let's talk Tom Sawyer's Island, shall we? So I will real quick find some of those pictures for you. So Tom Sawyer's Island, I don't even know if they ever let people go on it anymore, to be honest with you. But when I was growing up, it was a big part of going to the island, or of going to the park. It's basically a playground in the middle of Disneyland that you had to take a boat out to. So they had these little like transport boats. And the reason we're going over here is I want to show you something. That cross the River of America, which is a very short journey, but still takes like 10 minutes. And then so the reason, what I was trying to show you is this. Look how barren it looks next to the River of America over there. Like it's like big grass shores. That is not how the shores of Tom Sawyer's Island or the Rivers of America are supposed to look. There's almost always trees around the river. But what that is not showing, that used to be there, would be this view right here. So what you're looking at is formerly known as Fort Wilderness, which was a giant old fort in the middle of Tom Sawyer's Island that we'd go and play in, and they had like little like fake gun racks and stuff like this that you would shoot out of. So again, courtesy of Yesterland. All these pictures are courtesy of Yesterland. But it was so cool to have this like giant fort in the middle of this cool playground island, you know. But yeah, Tom Sawyer's Island itself is it was full of caves that you would hide in. Like they had Injun Joe's cave, and yeah, it's just like you'd run everywhere. They'd have like suspended bridges that you could jump on and stuff like that, and rocks you could climb on. And it's very much, when you look at it now, you're like, oh yeah, that's why they had to close that down. That is, I'd imagine they get sued a lot nowadays if they had that. But back as a kid back then, oh, it was so amazing. So Tom Sawyer's Island. Fort Wilderness, home to Disneyland's Armory. Oddly enough, there is back in the 60s, I want to say the late 60s, might have been early 70s, there was a little faction called, oh gosh, what are they called? I'm totally blanking on the name. Hold on. Oh, Yippies. The Yippie movement. They weren't quite hippies. They weren't yuppies. But it was... They were... I don't know. They were like the Occupy Wall Street movement of their day or something. I don't know. It was a bunch of young kids. But they were protesting, you know, capitalism and Disney and corporate stuff and all this. And there was this whole big kerfuffle because it was like, oh, they're going to go invade the park. They're invading Disneyland. It's going to be a takeover. And this was something that people had caught wind of in advance, and Disneyland was all worried. Come that day, there were very few of them. They paid for their ticket to get in the park, because back then tickets were way cheaper. I think it was still when they did the ticket books, so to get in the park was like super cheap, and then you had to pay to ride the rides. Oh, cool, 16-bit Relic. So that's good to know that they still keep it open. Yeah. But they, at one point, the only trouble they had is, the Yippies all kind of organized a march. And again, there weren't many of them. So think of like a tour, you know, just like a classroom full of people touring the park. That's kind of how organized it seems from what I read of all the accounts. But they marched down here, and they took over Fort Wilderness for a little while. Like, haha, we were taking over. And it didn't last very long. And I think some people ultimately got arrested, but it was not the big seizure and takeover of Disneyland that they were thinking it would be. So yeah, that was the story of when Disneyland was invaded by the Yippies. So look that up if you want. It's a trip, man. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else to tell you guys about here? I mean, other stuff in Frontierland. There is. So you're asking for like a good place to grab a burger. There's this. The Stage Door Cafe is decent. Oh, this is actually a really good restaurant. Is it called like the River Bell Terrace? It's right here. It's another sit down place. Yeah, River Bell Terrace. Delicious, like fried chicken and stuff like that. So yeah, you were asking for good food recommendations. This is an alternative if Blue Bayou is booked, but you want decent food. There's one for you. Let's see. Todd Harrison says, sounds like they really dropped the ball by not mobilizing on social media. Yeah, well, social media back then was like, I don't know, pass around zigzag papers between smoking joints. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't that organized is my point. All right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to save the rest for next time. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, it's been really fun chatting with you. I hope you're enjoying these. I'm really enjoying doing them. Hopefully the picture thing wasn't distracting and plussed up the presentation, as Walt would say, because I just wanted you guys to see some of the stuff I was talking about. So, figured I'd try it. But what we're going to do, so Tuesday night, we'll be back. We're going to do New Orleans Square and Critter Country, and we'll see if we also have time for Adventureland in that time, and that will have wrapped up our tour of Disneyland. Then what we might do is just go around the rest of the game. There's some rides in this game that are actually the real rides that you can just go sit on. There's a few of them. It's like the carousel and stuff. We'll do a little bit of that and have some fun. And then, yeah. But you know what I'd like to do right now? Because I know you guys were kind of asking this during chat, and I'm still getting the hang of this, so I'm sorry if I missed a question. But let's do this. Let's have a little bit of a Q&A session. So if anyone has any questions and wants to drop them in chat, I'm happy to answer those for you right now. If you want to ask me just Disney trivia, Disneyland trivia, stuff about working in the park, if I have the answer, I'm happy to give it to you. Oh, don't go. No, I'm not leaving. Don't leave yet, guys. If anyone does have any questions and wants to get them in, I'm happy to answer those. But if not, yeah, the only reminder is just if you're not already, please go ahead and follow me. If you want to subscribe, if you have your extra like Twitch Prime monthly subscription and haven't used it yet, it's never expected, always appreciated. The best way to support us is still patreon.com/lasertime. Oh, cool. Thank you, 16-Bit Relic, for you like the photos. I'm glad. So again, Yesterland, if you want to know more about the old stuff, Yesterland. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in chat, and I'm happy to answer them for you. I'll hang out a few minutes after the stream and just be in chat, and I can answer them there as well, that kind of thing. But yeah, so follow, subscribe if you want, no obligations there. I do have a tip button below too if you just want to give a tip. It's up to you. No pressure. Again, always appreciated, never ever expected. But yeah, I've been Matty C. Allen. You have been friggin' amazing. This has been Disneyland Adventures. I will see you guys next Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then, yeah, I will answer some of these questions that are just now flooding in the chat. But yeah, I'll see you guys next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Thanks for stopping by. I will check your ass down the road. See you later. Bye.